This is Sean O'Malley, and you're watching Full-Time MMA. Don't be a bagel biting, bagel bitch boy, bagel bitch back.
Back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time
MMA.
And for those of you that did not catch the live stream earlier, it is going down over at Jackson Wink. Donald Cerrone seems to have left the camp, and it almost seems like Jackson Wink might be choosing Perry over Cerrone if you just listen to Donald Cerrone on Joe Rogan's MMA podcast. But of course, there's two sides to every story, actually three. There's one side, the other person's side, and then of course the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. Now, with that being said, Donald Cerrone buried Mike Winkeljohn, claims he ruined the Jackson Wink team, and also claims that Jackson Wink is now a puppy mill where any bum off the street can train. Now, there's multiple angles to this. We're going to cover all on the same video. Not only did Donald Cerrone reveal what's going on from his perspective, Winkeljohn has responded, and also so has at least one member of Jackson Wink spoke out and defended Jackson Wink. We're going to get into all that on this video. So without further ado, let's get into some of the things Donald Cerrone had to say. He said, I went in to talk to Greg and Wink and say, hey, this guy's brand new to the gym. Of course, talking about Mike Perry. Now, of course, before we get into all of this, just for anybody that might not know the background as to why this is a big deal right now, Donald Cerrone and Mike Perry now both train out of Jackson Wink. Mike Perry's a new member. He's only been there for, I don't even know if he was there for his last fight. Actually, he was. I think that was his first fight at Jackson Wink when he took on Paul Felder. Now, that's a great camp for Mike Perry to be a part of. He was more of a knockout artist before this. Now he's with one of the best camps in MMA, still very young in his game, and he could, you know, turn into a great fighter over at Jackson Wink, become more well-rounded, and really have a future in the UFC. He's already one of the bigger stars of the sport. I mean, of course, not crazy crossover, but he's a fan favorite for sure in Mike Perry, and he's also only like 26, 27 years old, so he's got a bright future, and he decided to train with Jackson Wink. Now, Donald Cerrone's already been with Jackson Wink for already over a decade, and so he's the guy that has the tenure, or he's got the fucking, you know what I'm saying, the seniority at Jackson Wink. And so with that being said, you might expect the veteran Donald Cerrone to kind of be able to dictate how things go, being the guy that's been with Jackson Wink over a decade. But there's trouble in paradise. Now, with that being said, this is what Donald Cerrone had to say, now that you know the background, that he's going to be fighting Mike Perry at UFC Denver, who is now a new teammate. So you can see where that's a little bit of a conflict of interest, because we're both training at the same gym, and you're training him to beat me and me to beat him. How does that work? You tell him what I'm good at, what I'm fucking bad at. Donald Cerrone doesn't like the idea of that. Why are you guys, who are my fucking teammates and coaches, going to train somebody to beat me? And so this is what he had to say. I want him to talk to Greg and Wink and say, hey, this guy's brand new to the gym. He's only been here one camp, a couple of months. I don't think it's okay for him to come in and call me out. That's not right. So if he's doing that, I don't think we should allow him to train here for this fight. Then fucking Winkeljohn tells me, I thought you called him out. He's just a shit ass and lies to your face. So to me, he was like, sure, no problem. We'll clear it up and we won't have any issues. The next day, Winkeljohn allegedly called Cerrone and told him that the team had a meeting and decided Perry would train at Jackson Wink, and Cerrone was not welcome to prepare for UFC Denver there. He continued to say, with Greg, his name on that building, it's Jackson Wink. Jackson fucking Wink. When it comes to pick the decision and they said, we want to go with Perry, why the fuck didn't you stand? Because Greg's still with me. He's like, I'll just come to the ranch and we'll sort this out. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You tell me I can't come to the Jackson Wink gym, but you're going to backdoor and come to my fucking house and we're going to train to fight while Perry's there at the gym? He said, you see everything he does, and then you're going to come and you're going to train me, not to mention you're holding classes there, and you might not be training him to beat me, but there's a lot of people there that have trained with me for fucking years. So to me, that was the point I was saying. Can we just not have him here for this camp? And that's not too much to ask for. He's not saying like Mike Perry's never welcome to Jackson Wink, nothing like that. He's just saying, hey, for this camp, How about my teammates don't train this guy to whoop my ass because they know the ins and outs of Cowboy since they've been here to train with me for all of my fights. And so he's just seeing that conflict of interest and pointing it out, but it seems like Winkeljohn might be choosing Perry over him. He said, but he continued, there was a lot of things he said. I really advise you listen to the full Joe Rogan MMA show with Cowboy Cerrone on there, because there's like 3 different articles on what Cowboy Cerrone had to say. Some of them have pieces from the podcast that others don't. Like he called Winkeljohn, the camp, a puppy mill. He talks about how people, bums off the street, can really come in and train. But here's some more of what Donald Cerrone had to say. When Winkeljohn merged over, all the big pros left. It turned into a puppy mill. Back when Greg had it and it was his own school, you couldn't turn up to a pro black class. Some guy couldn't just come here, knock on your door, and the next thing you know, he has shin pads on and he's sparring. Literally at the new gym, bums come in off the street, I swear to God, and will come in and put stuff on and fight. That's a true story. Random bums off the street. That would never happen back in the day. And he's saying you should have an infrastructure in place, especially if you're the greatest at one time. If your winning percentage are in the 80s and 90s and now they're in the 20s, I have no clue what the winning record is in our gym, but it's nothing like it used to be. It's fucking asinine to me. So Cerrone clearly fed up, and seems like Mike Perry was the straw that broke the camel's back. One thing he talked about toward the end was the winning record of Winkeljohn, and at one point they were like 0-16. They were on like a 16-fight losing streak as a camp. Now I have to say that was before Mike Perry showed up, and that's why this is the straw that broke the camel's back. Because yes, all this has to do with Mike Perry, but there was already division and dissension amongst the ranks over at Jackson Wink, and that's why we're going to cover every side of this. So we're going to scan this one over real quick, make sure there's no details we missed from the podcast just for this episode before we go over Winkeljohn's response. This is what he had to say. He says, as far as a bum coming in off the street and it being a puppy mill, he said not only can someone just ring the doorbell and train, but if you're a coach, you can just come in train the class, and that's asinine. I see a new striking coach, wrestling coach, or jiu-jitsu coach in there twice a week probably. Our main wrestling coach at Jackson Wink, the greatest school in the fucking world, is a reception to a chiropractic upstairs. His greatest credentials, what he's a junior assistant coach at a college, don't know the college name, who got fired for selling the kids steroids. That's our wrestling coach at one of the greatest schools in the world. He's terrible, fucking god-awful terrible. He watches videos on YouTube and tries to teach people things that don't even fucking work. Cerrone is letting the ting go scrat. He's talking about the wrestling coach, saying he's not even fucking credentialed. His best achievement is selling kids steroids. Like, holy smokes, pushing steroids to kids at a college. So Cerrone is just letting it all out ahead of this fight. You could imagine he feels fucking betrayed at this point. He's been training with Jackson Wink for a decade, and it seems like they're taking the side of Mike Perry to the point to where they're like, all right, Cowboy, how about you go train at the BMF ranch? How about you don't even come back to the gym for this fight? Instead of the new guy, Mike Perry, having to find a new team for the fight, they're telling the vet, Cowboy Cerrone, hey man, we need Mike Perry here. And of course this has to do with money, you could imagine. And you're going to see that in the response from the coach. But with that being said, I believe, so it's Jackson Wink, right? You got Mike Jackson, or Greg Jackson and Mike Winkeljohn. And with that being said, I believe only one of them gets paid from Cowboy. And so the one who Cowboy Cerrone is having an issue with, which of course is Mike Winkeljohn, he's saying like, yo, I gotta get paid too. So if Perry's here, everyone's getting paid. Cerrone, you got your own deal worked out and you got the BMF ranch, so I'm trying to get paid here. So yeah, we gotta rock with Mike Perry. But we'll go into his specific words. He said, loyalty is two sides. Cowboy is not loyal to anybody on the gym. He's on his own. He does his own thing. He has not, from what I can remember in the last 10 years, ever helped anybody out with their own camp. He's as narcissistic as they come. And he continued, I put up with it for a long time because Greg has the biggest heart in the world. He's like my little brother. But at the same time, it was causing division. And by the way, of the teams that went out there, I think it's 100% of people lost because Cowboy wants to do what he wants to do on his time frame. And it didn't work out for the fighters that train out there at the gym, so it made our percentage look bad because we lost a lot of fights because of it. If Perry wasn't at my gym, I'm so much happier now that I got rid of the division in my gym and somebody that doesn't want to help others and wants to do his own thing. It has absolutely nothing to do with Perry and everything to do with Perry. because that's the straw that broke the camel's back. It has nothing to do with Perry because there was already division in the gym, and everything to do with Perry because this is the straw that broke the camel's back. If Perry didn't come here to train, who knows? They might be still going through some shit over at Winkeljohn. But now it's all boiling to a head, and it seems like Cerrone may be splitting with Jackson Wink. Now we'll see if they can come back together after this fight, but right now there's definitely a conflict of interest going on. Which side are you on? Let me know in the comments. But like I said, two sides to every story, including the truth, and a member, a pretty prestigious member who's actually been there for probably longer than Cowboy, Diego Sanchez, is coming to the defense of his coaches. You know, there's a lot of people in that gym that probably have something to say about this whole situation. Of course, Cowboy being the veteran of the team, but some people see what Winkeljohn sees, and at the same time, it's hard to really take a side on this because you got to imagine all the bias that's coming out of this. Diego Sanchez he's not really on the up and up as far as his UFC career, so maybe he's training at Jackson Wink. You know, maybe he has a job there. Of course, one of the coaches gets paid to do that. You could imagine he would take his employer's side, of course it's his team too, but over the side of Cowboy Cerrone. Even though he might feel some type of way, what is he going to do? Donald Cerrone's not going to hire him over there to fucking be a trainer at the BMF ranch. And so Diego Sanchez, he is coming to the defense of Winkeljohn and the team, but maybe he's a little biased. Well, you still got to hear what everyone from the team is saying before you really pick somebody's side. Because we saw Donald Cerrone's viewpoint, now we saw Winkeljohn, what he had to say in response to that, and this is what Diego Nightmare Sanchez had to say. Best Emmy in the world is not a puppy mill. Yes, they are our pups. The pups here are grinding and growing under a very motivated Greg Jackson. Cowboy Cerrone would know that if he was not so busy living it up and was here sharing his energy daily and knowledge. You know, Donald Cerrone, that's another thing. He's not always at the camp you could imagine. He's living his best life. Donald Cerrone is fucking jumping out of planes, riding ATVs through the fucking forest, wrestling with bears, all type of shit, man. He's out there having fun, getting thrills outside of the cage. I mean, that's just it seems like Donald Cerrone, the shit he lives for. Whether it's a fucking deep sea dive or diving out of an airplane, he's getting fucking thrills out here, having fun and enjoying his time. And so he's probably not always at the camp. And when he's not busy doing something there, of course, he also has the BMF ranch to train at. And so if Donald Cerrone's not even always at the gym, and it probably almost feels like, is he even part of the team? Kind of like you hear with Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington, how Colby says, yeah, Tyron's a part of AT&T, but he's never fucking here. He's always in Milwaukee with Rufus, but he's still technically under AT&T, but he's not our training partner. We don't see Tyron Woodley every day over here in the gym, and that's what it is kind of with Cerrone. He's not there every single day, and when he is there, it seems like he's really focused on himself, according to what some of these guys are saying, including Diego Sanchez. He's backing that up, saying that Donald Cerrone's never helped him for a fight, and that's in damn near 10 years. He continued with this long message right here. He said, Jackson Wink is on fire, and he said Joe Rogan and Jackson Wink is on fire, because of course this happened on the Joe Rogan podcast. Jackson Wink is on fire and we're on the ups, bro, no lie. I have been here longer than anyone and seen the many stages of our evolution of this team. We're stronger than ever. Our defeats only helped us grow, and we're not coming into the prosperous stage just watch and see. Or he said, and we are now coming into the prosperous stage, just watch and see. Cerrone had been so busy building his empire in the past 3 or 4 years, and he's done a fantastic job doing it, but that's been his focus. He's never been here, and maybe a grappling class here or a sparring every 6 months, but that's not a teammate. It's just someone who's out only for themselves. I try to give him a round if we cross paths here or there. The last time, he got me real good with the sidekick to the liver. I see it all. I treat this like a 9-to-5 job. I come every day and I stay when everyone leaves to the rest and eat. So I see it all. And in the past 10 years, Cowboy never went out of his way to help me get ready for a fight, not once. That's why I posted previous about why I was Team Platinum. Platinum Perry is here to give me the rounds I need and help me more in one camp than Cowboy did in 10 years. So don't badmouth my gym or my coach, Coach Wink. We're good peeps striving to better our city and state and our sport. If Perry falls out come November, I'll be ready to fill in with zero hesitation, and we know where Greg Jackson will be. #loyalty. It's not about money. #real talk. #still the best gym. And of course, tagged a lot of the Jackson Wink staples: John Jones, Carlos Condit, Karate Hottie, Holly Holmes, Six Gun Gibson. I mean, just all the talented fighters that are out at Jackson Wink. You know, Diego Sanchez let them know, yo, united we stand, motherfucking divided we fall. We're all still together. There's some division right now, but he's taking the side of Jackson Wink, and he's saying that's the biggest part of his statement. When he says in like fucking 10 years, Cerrone's never helped me once, that's kind of crazy if you think about it. I mean, so yeah, Cerrone is busy doing his own thing, and he is building a fucking BMF ranch over there that seems to be like state of the art. He has at his little ranch, he's got it all, man. If you haven't seen anything going on over there, he's got the fucking ATVs. You can have fun after you're done training. He's got his own training, his own gym, octagon, everything you could need. Cowboy pretty much has at home. And so, I mean, he probably trains there a lot of the time, and that also kind of causes dissension in the team. If you think about, okay, so Cowboy Cerrone shows up today, he's like, hey guys, you know what, fuck this, let's go back to the ranch and get some training in. Fuck all these puppies over here coming in off the street, you know. So you're taking some of the training partners away from the gym to train with you. You might feel some sort of way about Winkeljohn or about the people coming in off the street. It's just causing division amongst the camp. And so maybe this will be for the best over at Jackson Wink. You know, one of the bigger stars kind of leaving. And we kind of saw this, honestly, recently with Mackenzie Dern at the MMA lab a little bit, right? She wasn't the most disciplined, and they kind of just not even asked her to leave, like in a bad way, but they're like, yo, you need to focus on your career. You need to be training. And they kind of nipped it in the bud before it became a problem. Before all the fighters were like, hey, how come Mackenzie Dern only has to train like every fucking Tuesday? How come she's on the beach on, you know, whatever she was doing? They're like, listen, you need to focus on your shit. How about you just train full-time in California? Go do your thug dizzle over there, and no hard feelings. It's just, this ain't working. So you can see that start to cause division in the gym if people are getting preferential treatment, doing their own thing. But hey, man, it is what it is. As far as Jackson Wink is concerned, hopefully they can get their shit together. Mike Perry versus Donald Cerrone is officially deeper than rap. It's going to be a great fight. And honestly, this is not a good look for Cowboy Cerrone. This is a bad look for Cowboy Cerrone. Not just because usually he's at his best when he's teammates and friendly with his opponents. We've seen that in the past. He was even losing to Matt Brown before Matt Brown in the third round ultimately gave Cerrone that high five, like, all right, man, yeah, let's fight, and, you know, put a smile on his face. They were actually having fun, and right after that comes the knockout. Any of Cerrone's opponents leading up to the fight that got under his skin in the way of they weren't having fun with him, they weren't playing with him, they were serious, they were trying to win. We saw that with Darren Till, Leon Edwards. They had success against Cerrone. Meanwhile, in between time, anytime he's having fun with his opponents, and you know what I'm saying, in there playing or fucking, anytime he's having fun with his opponents, he goes in there and has a great performance. Anytime he's having a great time in there, getting loose, having fun in that octagon. So before this, actually, it seemed like Cerrone and Perry were cool. Like I said, this isn't a Cerrone-Perry thing. This is a Cerrone-Winkeljohn thing. And so these guys are still going to come in here, and now it's almost like Perry is representing the new wave of Winkeljohn. Cerrone kind of maybe being pushed out, or at least he feels that way. And so this is deeper than rap. This is almost like former teammates, even though they weren't teammates super long. It's team versus team. You know what I'm saying? So this fight is officially deeper than rap. It's crazy that it's going to be to see like Jackson Wink coaching against Donald Cerrone in this fight. And now that's another bad thing for Cerrone because, like he's, one of the reasons he didn't like this idea was, yo, you guys have been training with me for this long. You're my coaches, my teammates. Now you're going to be training him to whoop my ass? This doesn't seem right. What's going on here? And so with that being said, we'll see what happens, man. But Cowboy Cerrone versus Mike Perry is going down at the UFC's 25th anniversary card in Denver. It's going to be a great fight. And not only that, maybe afterward, Cowboy's going to have to get one in with Diego Sanchez because he seems to have taken a little bit of offense to the things that Cowboy Cerrone had to say on the Joe Rogan podcast. So make sure you tune into that full episode. Long video, but there was a lot to cover, different angles. Let the full-time family know what you guys think in the comments.
Da 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 da! It's the motherfucking DOG.